Morning opens when everything is still new. Light has just touched the room, and your body is still resting between sleep and waking. The mind has not yet put on its familiar roles. Not yet the one who must do well. Not yet the one who must carry responsibilities. Just a human being returning to the first breath of the day. But for many people, that quiet fades very quickly. Eyes open and the mind jumps to problems that need solving. Before even sitting up, the heart already feels heavy. The day has not truly begun, yet the mind has already run far ahead. Old worries, familiar pressures, and unanswered questions quietly step in and take over the morning. In the teachings of the Buddha, the mind is the root of all experience. When the mind is at ease, life naturally feels lighter. When the mind is restless, everything becomes more difficult. A single thought arising in the morning can quietly guide the entire day without us realizing it. So instead of trying to change everything outside, we can begin by speaking gentle and truthful words to ourselves. The 5 lessons that follow are not meant to make you stronger than others. They are simply meant to help you return to the inner peace that has always been within you, starting from this very morning. Word 1. Pause for a moment before you react. In the morning, before the day has fully opened, the mind has already begun to run. There are things that have not yet happened, yet the body is already tense. There are situations that have not arrived, yet the heart already feels uneasy. Just thinking about an upcoming conversation, a message that might appear, or a plan that could go wrong is enough to change the rhythm of the breath. Sometimes an entire day is shadowed by a single passing thought in the morning. At times, just one sentence is enough to disturb the mind. A remark, an attitude that does not meet expectations, a look that lacks warmth. The event is small, but the reaction inside is large. We are pulled along without realizing it. The mind reacts before we have a chance to be present. In the teachings of the Buddha, suffering does not come directly from circumstances. Suffering arises from the way the mind clings to those circumstances. Between what happens and how we respond, there is always a small space. That space is often very brief, but it is real. If we do not see it, reaction follows habit. If we see it, we have a choice. Morning is the best time to plant the seed for this awareness. When you first wake up, if you remind yourself that today you have the right to pause for a moment, the entire day shifts slightly. Not to control every emotion, but to avoid being carried away immediately. Simply remembering that you can breathe before reacting makes a difference. Then, as the day unfolds, familiar situations return. A message that irritates you, a plan that changes at the last minute, someone behaving in a way you did not expect. In the past, the mind might have reacted instantly, tightening, resisting, or withdrawing. But when the morning has already planted the seed of mindfulness, you gain an extra moment to notice that you are being pulled. That moment does not make the problem disappear, but it gives you another option. You can take a deep breath. You can remain silent instead of speaking right away. You can respond more slowly. You can choose not to react in the old way. Whatever response follows, it is no longer completely automatic. Peace does not come from life becoming lighter. It comes from the mind no longer being pulled so quickly. When you learn to pause for a moment before reacting, you are learning to return to yourself. From there, the day becomes gentler, not because there are fewer waves, but because you are no longer carried away by every one of them. Word 2. This very place of discomfort is where you are growing. We often carry a very familiar belief that when things feel uncomfortable, when life becomes heavy, something must be wrong. We think we took the wrong path, met the wrong people, or lived in the wrong way. And so the natural reaction is to avoid. We want to escape as quickly as possible, to return to the familiar feeling of ease. But in the teachings of the Buddha, suffering is not a mistake. Suffering is the first truth of life, not to make us pessimistic, but to help us see clearly. Everyone who lives encounters suffering. No one is exempt. And for that reason, Suffering is not a sign that you have failed. It is a sign that you are alive, that you are feeling, that you are meeting reality as it is. When we look more deeply, we may begin to see something different. The places that make us the most uncomfortable often touch the parts within us that we have not yet understood, accepted, or fully learned from. Discomfort does not arise by accident. It arises in order to be seen. In everyday life, this appears very clearly. It may be a relationship that continually leaves you feeling drained. Each interaction carries a sense of heaviness. You have tried to change, to endure, to avoid, yet the feeling keeps returning. Or it may be a period of stagnation when every effort seems to lead nowhere. You try very hard, but the results never match your hopes. Sometimes it is a fear you constantly avoid. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss. The more you avoid it, the stronger it becomes. In the spirit of Buddhist teaching, these places are not meant to be escaped. They are places to learn, not learning through more thinking, but through presence. When you dare to stay with discomfort without rushing to push it away, you begin to understand yourself more deeply. You start to see the desires, the attachments, and the expectations quietly shaping your life. Mourning is a very suitable time to practice seeing suffering in this way. Instead of asking why this is happening to me, you can gently ask what you are being taught. There's no need to answer immediately. Simply opening the heart to listen is enough. When you stop seeing suffering as an enemy, the mind begins to soften. And within that softness, growth happens very quietly. Word 3, return to today, to this breath. We often live inside two invisible prisons. One prison is called the past, where old memories keep returning again and again. The other prison is called the future, where worries that have not yet happened take over the mind. When we are trapped between these two places, we are rarely truly present. The mind is always somewhere else while the body continues to move through familiar habits as each day passes. In the teachings of the Buddha, the past has already passed and cannot be held. The future has not yet arrived and cannot be touched. Only the present moment is breathing with us. When the mind leaves the present, suffering arises. When the mind returns, peace begins to appear naturally in this very moment without needing to search anywhere else. Morning is the most important time to return. When we first wake up, the mind is still soft and easily carried away by old habits. If at that moment the mind already runs toward tasks, unfinished matters, and future concerns, the entire day will continue to be pulled along in the same way. When the morning begins in haste, the rest of the day rarely feels truly calm or light from within. There are mornings when we open our eyes and immediately worry about the entire week ahead. Work, schedules, and responsibilities appear one after another. Sometimes a new day begins with regret about something from the past, a wrong decision, an unspoken word, something that is already past but the mind still refuses to release. And so we are unable to fully live this day with the breath that is present here and now. When you return to today, to the breath moving in and out, the mind begins to settle. You do not deny the past, and you do not avoid the future. You simply place yourself where you belong. When you are fully here and today, peace naturally appears, gently and quietly. There is nothing else you need to seek. Simply being fully present in this moment is enough. Word 4, you are already enough. You do not need to become someone else. There is a very deep wound that many people carry throughout their lives. It is the feeling of not being enough, not good enough to be recognized, not worthy enough to be appreciated, not perfect enough to deserve love and peace. This wound is not always visible. It often hides beneath constant striving, beneath the urge to do better, to be more than others, to achieve something more before allowing oneself to rest. We grow up surrounded by quiet comparisons, comparing results, comparing lives, comparing our path with the paths of others. Social media intensifies this comparison every day. The achievements of others appear endlessly. Their lives seem more complete, faster, more fulfilled, and the mind begins to wonder why it has not arrived there yet. Expectation piles upon expectation, and exhaustion quietly arises. In the spirit of Buddhist teaching, this way of seeing is very different. The Buddha did not teach that we must become someone else to be worthy. He taught us to return and see ourselves clearly. You do not need to become someone else to deserve peace. Peace is not a reward that comes after you meet every condition. Peace is a state that appears when you stop resisting yourself. The feeling of not being enough often comes from measuring ourselves by external standards. When we reach one goal, we set another. When we arrive at one milestone, we still feel lacking. This race has no finish line because it does not begin with understanding ourselves, but with fear that we are not good enough. Morning is a very important time to lay this burden down. When you first wake up, before the new day pulls you along, you can remind yourself that today, you do not need to prove anything. You do not need to run to keep up with anyone. You do not need to become a better version of yourself immediately. You only need to be present as you are, with this breath, with this body, with this mind. When you stop trying to be enough in the eyes of others, you begin to see that you are already enough to live, to feel, to love. Not because you are perfect, but because you are here. When you stop trying to become enough, you begin to realize that you have always been enough. And from that sense of enoughness, peace can arise naturally, without force, without conditions. Word 5. Gently let go of what is not in your hands. Much of the exhaustion in life does not come from doing too much, but from trying to control too much. We want others to understand us, to change according to our wishes, to behave the way we expect. We want outcomes to arrive at the right time, in the right way, exactly as we planned. We want time to move faster when we are waiting and slower when we are afraid of losing something. The more we try to hold on, the tighter the mind becomes. The more we cling, the heavier the heart feels. In the spirit of Buddhist teaching, this suffering does not arise because life is too difficult, but because we are holding on too tightly. When we believe that everything must be within our control, we place ourselves in an uneven struggle. There are many things that are not governed by our will, yet we carry that responsibility on our shoulders and then blame ourselves for failing. The Buddha taught that clinging gives rise to suffering, and letting go in the right way gives rise to peace. Letting go here does not mean giving up. It does not mean indifference or surrender. Letting go means understanding correctly, understanding what belongs to our responsibility and what does not. When we understand this clearly, the mind naturally becomes lighter. In everyday life, this truth appears very clearly. Sometimes we love someone deeply and wish they would change so they could suffer less. We speak, we advise, we worry, we intervene. Yet in the end, they still walk their own path. Our pain does not come only from their suffering, but from our helplessness in realizing that we cannot live life for them. At other times, we plan our lives carefully, only to find life turning in a different direction. Unexpected events arise. Doors do not open as we hoped. We become tense because of the feeling of losing control. Morning is a very suitable time to remind ourselves of this. As a new day begins, we can gently tell ourselves that today we only need to do our part. Our part is to live fully, to act with kindness, to make sincere effort, to keep the heart upright. The rest, how things turn out, what others choose, how time unfolds, we can allow life to handle life's part. When we stop tightly gripping what is not in our hands, energy begins to return. We resist reality less. We blame ourselves less. We become less tense. Letting go does not make you weaker. Letting go makes the mind lighter. And when the mind is light, you walk through life with more peace. Not because everything goes as you wish, but because you are no longer straining against what cannot be controlled. We have just moved through 5 very simple reminders. Pause for a moment. Stay with the place of discomfort. Return to today. Remember that you are already enough, and gently let go of what is not in your hands. They are not slogans to be repeated for effect. They are gentle reminders that help us return to ourselves each morning. In the spirit of Buddhist teaching, practice is not about becoming perfect. Practice is simply about suffering less each day. There will be mornings when you remember these words and feel your mind grow lighter. There will also be mornings when you forget and are pulled away again. That is completely okay. The path of returning has never demanded perfection. If you find these words helpful, stay with this channel and listen to more mornings like this. And leave a comment saying, "I choose peace today."